Just last summer, Paul Pelosi placed a bet of up to $6 million on big tech giants. That was ahead of a House committee moving forward with an antitrust bill aimed at Silicon Valley titans. And it's all just the latest bit of bad news for the couple. As you might recall, Paul Pelosi recently charged with DUI out in Napa after a May car crash. And Speaker Pelosi continues to see her party in as much disarray as ever, as Democrats now face major losses in the House in November, likely putting her out of power. Here with reaction, the book couldn't be more timely, maybe the best book he's ever written, and that's Defeating Big Government Socialism and How to Protect the Country. Fox News contributor Newt Gingrich. By the way, tomorrow night, Newt will have a live signing of his book, 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on his Facebook page. Let me go back to this quote exactly. So their answer is the speaker doesn't own any stocks and that the transactions are for the spouse and she had no knowledge or subsequent involvement. And then they say you should check with the committee on the latest. Why is that not an adequate response to me? The question is, did she give him insider information that caused him to invest in the stocks? Because that would be, at least where I grew up, that would be considered something like, insider trading.
Yeah, I'm going to probably surprise you a little bit here, Sean. I think there's an enormous difference between Paul Pelosi and Hunter Biden. Paul Pelosi is a very sophisticated businessman. He's been around a long time. He's been investing for over 50 years. You know, he reads the Wall Street Journal, the Financial Times. He talks to smart people. The bet he made was a minor bet in terms of his fortune. And to the best of my knowledge, there was no particular insider advantage. It's not a particular company that's particularly advantaged. If that happened, you're exactly right. That'd be insider trading. And that's clearly a felony, and people can go to jail for it. But I suspect it's just common knowledge. I mean, I've known as you have, for months now that the House and Senate Democrats are slugging their way through on actually pretty bipartisan basis, trying to get this chip bill through to compete with China. So Paul saw that. The difference between Paul Pelosi is a serious financial guy and what we see with Hunter Biden, which is just pure corruption, I think is enormous. And if I were going to focus on big government socialism, I would start with the president releasing the American oil reserve and having 1 million barrels go to a Chinese company with a relationship with the president's son. Now that, to me, is a clear, open and shut scandal and probably impeachable offense. I'm not particularly defending Paul, although he is a very smart businessman, but when I read the story, I don't automatically get a problem that there's some kind of insider trading or insider deal.
If the last name were Trump, I think we would be having a very different narrative in the country right now. Just my little take. You know, I think we both agree that the likelihood is very high Republicans will take back the House. I feel pretty strongly that that's going to be a slam dunk. But when you look at, for example, Republicans have to hold North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, they've got to hold Ohio. Those are all bellwether states, and Missouri. That's another one. And then you're looking for pickups in Georgia, which has had intra-party turmoil somewhat. I think Herschel would be a great senator, but they've been going after him with a vengeance. We might put states like New Hampshire, Colorado, and Washington State in play, but then we've got Nevada, then we've got Arizona, then we've got, you know, all these other states potentially we could do well in. On paper, Republicans should win based on the economy, but I'm not buying into that this is going to be a cakewalk. Your thoughts?
Well, I think it depends entirely on the Republicans. If the Republicans go big, they're going to crush the Democrats. Georgia's a great example. If the Republicans go small and let it degenerate into a fight between Herschel Walker as a person and Warnock as a person, then it's, I think, an up-in-the-air kind of race. Warnock's a professional preacher, a very articulate guy. He has an amazing amount of money. But if Warnock's got to carry Biden and 9% inflation and a doubling of the gas price and all the people coming across the border and the rising crime rate, Warnock's just going to drown. So you go across the country as you just did, and I can easily see a circumstance where if Republicans play it stupid, they could end up picking up maybe 1 or 2 net, still a majority, but 1 or 2. But if they play it smart, if every single race you described becomes a choice between the Biden candidate, who is killing America, and the Republican alternative, I think you could see them sweep every state. Remember, when I worked with Ronald Reagan in 1980, we did the first Capitol Steps event. We had the first contract. We picked up 14 Senate seats, not because our candidates were brilliant. We won 5 of them by a combined total of 75,000 votes. Why? Because they had a wave coming, an American wave, not a Republican wave, an American wave. We get that American wave this fall, you're going to be shocked how big the Republican majority in the Senate is.
If there's anybody that's running for office listening to you now that doesn't get on the phone and call you and ask very specifically what they should be doing, they're all idiots. That's my advice to all of them, to call you. I'll give out your number. Do you mind? 202. Oh, sorry.
No,
I better not do that. You know I have it memorized, so I could do it.
All they've got to do is all they got to do is play this episode. I just laid out what they need to do.
Okay.
Go big. Make it a big election about big issues.
And your book actually outlines
win.
it, and it's very timely. That is the best advice, the
Even
simplest
better,
advice.
they should just buy the book.
The next thing they need to do is, by the way, mean it and do it when they get elected. That's a big part of the equation also.
That's right.
All right, Speaker Gingrich.
That's why there should be a contract of some kind this fall.
Agree. McCarthy says he's doing it in the House. The Senate needs to do it as well. I don't know what Mitch McConnell's
ought to
doing.
do it in the Senate.
Agreed.
Let's just get it over with. McConnell should do it in the Senate, too.
All right, Mr. Speaker, defeating big government socialism, Amazon.com, Hannity.com, bookstores all around the country. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.